And we're back with another episode of the On The Bench podcast. I am your host, Dman. Very special episode today. Met on Instagram. What would you say you are? Football coach, scout? What would you come under?
I think I'm both, you know.
Both, yeah?
Both, yeah, man. Scouting is obviously what I love doing, and coaching is just something that's glued up to me, you know. I've done well, and I've just, you know, taken it.
Sick.
As it is.
Yeah. So you worked at Arsenal for a few years, which was like one of my, is my like boyhood colour. So good episode to get insight on to see like how things was and his journey. We're gonna touch on his journey and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for coming down as well, bro, man. I really appreciate that, man. Love, man.
Appreciate
and yeah, hope you enjoyed the show. And on the bench today, we've got Mr. Talk to Frank, aka Mr. Roy Keane, aka the Christmas Grinch. Feeling happy about your comeback on Thursday?
Yeah, but yesterday.
You was getting mad in here, didn't it?
I was.
Did the neighbours knock the door?
Nah, not this time. Not this time. But yeah, it was what a game, man.
But you guys were leading over there at one point. He was leading 2-0.
Yeah, I listen, man. It's football, innit? Football. That's what else can you?
You know, I think what sums up that game, Harry Maguire won the game.
Yeah,
that is
shout out Harry Maguire, man. What a G, man. Respect.
How did it feel? Was it like Arsenal?
Do you know what? It was a roller coaster, man. It was This was. Look, we should have won the first leg. Onana messed up. He made two mistakes. He cost us the game in the first leg. Second leg, I thought we'd come back to Old Trafford, we'll win comfortable. We were 2-0 up at half time. Yeah. Scored two like really good goals. And then the game was pretty much dead. And then we let them back in with a set piece, which, I mean, we've conceded so many set pieces this season. Poor defending, lost focus, lost concentration. And then they scored another like scrappy-ish goal. And then they went down to 10 men. And when they went down to 10 men, I was thinking, okay, cool. Like, it's going to extra time. It's been a frustrating game, but we can go and win it. And then they scored. And then they scored again, like as a penalty.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, what is going on here? Like,
I know the Arsenal player.
Honestly,
two players, Ainsley as
mate,
well.
Yeah, he almost scored. Mate, the last hit a volley, he almost scored. And then I just had my shirt over my head thinking, like, what am I watching, man? This is like awful. And then as soon as we got the penalty and Bruno scored, I was like, we're going to come back here.
You reckon?
I genuinely, I knew. As soon as it went to 4-3, I was like, we're going to come back here.
Mainu's goal was good.
Was it
Wolves he scored the first one?
Wolves and Liverpool, sorry. He scored two goals similar to that, yeah. And then, he took his goal so well. But then when Maguire scored, man, it was absolute limbs, man, in that stadium. And like, obviously I was at home watching it and I was just jumping up and down. I was just going crazy. You know what it is? It's just like, it's a quarterfinal, it's Europa League, but we need Europa League, man. We need to win this. I hope so. We desperately need to win this. I think, but if we get to the final, I think we'll win it because we got Bilbao.
Yeah.
And
to be honest, I wouldn't mind an England derby, like England final.
United Spurs.
Yeah, I would love that.
And all right, so
because I wouldn't support no one. Yeah. I'm just gonna laugh.
All right,
we're supporting Man United.
So but you know what genuine question, because I know that we've had a rivalry growing up, right?
Yeah.
If Man United and Spurs get to the final, you're obviously supporting United. I know you are.
No, you know what? Actually, he just made a point, bro. I'm supporting United.
Of course, he's supporting United, bro.
If we both get there,
I'm gonna bring this on with me.
Do you know what? He made a good point though. But for me, the funniest thing about it, I was just on YouTube and Rio Ferdinand done a poll with saying is Bruno better than Odegaard? And I just said, who, Bruno?
Yeah. What, you don't think so?
I disagree.
You've gone crazy.
The thing
We've done this.
The first one.
No, but hear me out though. See, Odegaard, for me, what he brings to the game is he's a very effective. A lot of touches, opens the play up, drives at players.
Bruno doesn't do that.
No, but Bruno, the thing is, he's not got his team nowhere. You see what I mean? Like Odegaard, in all his fairness, when he goes injured, Arsenal screwed because there's a gap between that midfield and attack, and that's why Odegaard is such a key
everything
player.
that Odegaard can do, Bruno can do better.
I think Bruno has like more goals and more assists. more assists. But Odegaard, like there was one season popping it in, scoring goals left, right, centre.
One season.
But I don't know what's happened to him. Like honestly,
he frustrates me, brother.
Nah, I love watching him, man. Do you know why? Just like from a scouting point of view, he's a player that you know what, you just say. If he was like, maybe if it was like under 18s, under 17s, you'd be like, yeah, this guy's going to be an amazing player. And I could have told you the first season at Arsenal, this guy is going to change the club. And I think he changed the club.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
That's a strong opinion.
I think he's an important cog. I think he's an important cog in your team, 100%. But Bruno's a level above Odegaard. Bruno is absolutely. Do you know what? I look at you. Name me any club in the world.
Yeah.
Bruno goes into that team. I can guarantee you, any team in the world.
So
you
Bruno
name me,
goes into Real Madrid?
Yes, he does.
Walks in.
Yeah,
he does. He gets into that
poor.
team.
The midfield is poor.
Yeah, he gets into that team.
No, but he doesn't get over Jude though. No,
That's what I'm saying.
Not
Going
over.
over.
Yeah, but he plays at 8. Modric is in and out of the team. Valverde's been okay. Valverde for me is
Valverde's got better.
yeah,
Camavinga.
he's an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
What's the Camavinga?
Bruno gets into that.
Camavinga,
Believe you me,
DMN.
Bruno will train 3-4 times with that Real Madrid team. They're like, yeah, we need this guy in his first team. He'll get into the
Do
team.
you know what? For me, Bruno that like really left a bad taste on my. For me, was when he was like when Cristiano Ronaldo was there. I feel like his attitude and his behavior wasn't really like for me conducted himself really well. And
In what way? In what sense?
Like to be honest, he was just sulking, complaining. I don't like players like that. Players that just go and get it and just carry on. And that's why for me, maybe I'm more towards Odegaard because. Doesn't really sulk. He just boom
He
gets the
cracks
ball,
on
you
his
know.
game.
Yeah,
But
and that's why
I'll
maybe
take
that's
a-
my preference in it. As my bias. You know?
I can understand. But I take a sulking Bruno over any other.
No, but when
sort of-
when things don't go good, Bruno's is probably one of the worst players in the team.
But
then-
Bruno will get.
But the thing is,
out of a
but
pickle, though.
hear me out. So Odegaard in that situation, if the Arsenal's losing, you're still thinking, oh, you know what? There could have been chances better. I think the only thing he's going to improve in this game is just open up and shoot. And Ethan's coming into the academy and doing that straight away. So, you know.
But maybe that will just never be him. And you said, here's my argument.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is putting up numbers every season.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is clutch every season since he's come in.
Poor Man United side.
This is what I'm saying. And you're talking about Odegaard had that one season, but one season isn't.
But look at Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish has come from a team where he was one of the best players to be in nobody. You see what I mean?
Injuries though.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like when he has come on, like he's got potential, but he doesn't show enough.
So
I'm saying sometimes it could be players that could do really well in a poor team, but then they go on a better team. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't
no,
just-
that I agree with. But
Yeah,
I just feel like
it's
Bruno's.
hard to say, innit? It's
Yeah,
hard
but
to
Bruno
say.
does it for Portugal as well. Portugal are a quality team.
Yeah,
he does it for them as well.
No, of
he put.
course.
I've dropped the numbers for Portugal that he's put up.
Yeah.
So listen, Bruno Fernandes, he's doing it for Sporting Lisbon as well before he joined United. That's why he joined United. I'm telling you right now, Bruno Fernandes, because of the way he plays, because of his shooting, his left
So
foot.
you're
his
saying
right foot.
he's all-time Man United's best player?
Nah, just.
So why were you even talking about this guy, man? To be honest, Odegaard is not as well. So yeah.
He's
Odegaard
only
world class. He's not.
Do you know what?
no chance. Not even
I don't
close.
think yet.
Alright,
I don't think yet.
I got a question. Is he underrated, overrated, world class, or very good?
To be honest, based on what you guys are saying, underrated. And I got a friend
He's
that
underrated, yeah?
I got a friend that says he's rubbish, and I'm like, Tim, what are you
No,
talking
he's not.
about?
No. Odegaard's a very good player.
No, but my friend's point of view is he says that this guy has no vision. Like if he's trapped
got
in,
vision.
that's what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'm saying to my friend. Like
But that's a different.
Is he an
argument,
Arsenal
though.
fan, your friend?
bro. I don't know where he's going with his life. I don't know.
No,
what
but that's
he's
a
doing,
different argument. So, like I mean, you
No,
can't
but a
say
lot of Arsenal
Odegaard-
fans I feel that way. Rick feels that way. There's a lot of
Yeah,
Arsenal
but
fans.
to say
that
he's not
don't-
got vision is a silly argument. To say he's got no end product is a good argument. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At times.
But he's a number 10.
But also no. But the thing is, then the other debate is he better as an 8 or is he better as a 10? You see what I mean? Like for me, I think he kind of has like little trade like Santi Cazorla, where he picks up the ball and
deeper.
he drives from deeper. And you had, if you had like Coquelin that was breaking down and Odegaard would have been there. I get the point. Like maybe he's not an exact number 10. I think maybe as an 8.
You've been screaming that, innit?
Yeah.
He's been saying that for a while.
Yeah,
Playing
he's
as an
saying
8.
But the thing is like, look, like. I just think is like for me as a scout, I just love to watch it.
Yeah, fair
I
enough,
get
yeah.
the point, like the end product, and that's the
You see football differently.
Yeah, for me it's how many touches he's taking, like the amount of time he scans, like, and you listen to what's the name called, Frank Lampard's dad talking about like how he was saying scanning, and all of this stuff, and you see Odegaard just clips, just boom, boom, boom. His awareness is good. The only thing he lacks is obviously strength and speed, and like you watch the game
strength's
against,
terrible.
yeah, and his speed as well. Like for example against Real Madrid, like 3-4 players on him.
He was your weakest link against Real Madrid.
He looked out of place.
He did look out of place. Of all the
But
players,
the thing is, you can't put no one else in there that's gonna do something.
no,
half at
but
him.
that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
For me, I looked at every single one of those Arsenal players. Lewis Skelly, unbelievable. Declan Rice, unreal.
Ridiculous.
Saliba, unbelievable. Even Marino had 2 good legs. But I looked at Odegaard and I was like, bro, this should be your level. This should be when you put your name down against your old club
And
as the
boss it
captain.
and say, this is what I can do.
Declan Rice done it,
Yeah.
but Odegaard didn't. And
He should have
over
showed
both legs,
them.
by the way. Over
Yeah.
both legs.
You should have showed them.
Do you see
shouldn't have sold
you
me.
see what I loved about that game though? For me, I think the first leg 3-0. the most important goal wasn't even the free kicks. It was the last goal.
Mourinho,
Yeah. Why was that? Because it was like, you know what, we can score an open goal, and then we had clear-cut chances over them. Second leg, 2-0, 2-1, 2-1. The goal that we gave him was a silly one. Saliba was on fire the whole game. For me, I think Arsenal's biggest struggle next season is if they don't keep Partey. I don't know where we're gonna be.
I believe that as well.
Because I know they're talking about
Zubimendi.
I don't think
he's the right player for Arsenal.
I don't think he's the right player. I think we need like a strong leader.
I like for like.
I call him Uncle Partey.
Yeah, he's like an old school. He just knows what I got.
No, because he said that he's trying to say the same age as me. He's older than me.
No, but what I would say is that, do you know what? As a Man United fan, I watched Roy Keane go to Turin, and we were 2-0 down against Juventus in '99, and we came back and beat them 3-2. And I think that was the first time they'd ever lost at home to an English team or in Europe or something. The way that Declan Rice played against Real Madrid, that was that sort of performance, where he was just everywhere. Forget the goals, forget the free kicks.
Interception, shutting down, closing, he's doing everything.
But just everything. Even like him and Jude going at it. And Jude Bellingham doesn't lose many duels. Yeah. But he lost out to Rice.
Where was Jude?
He was hating on Declan, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Bro.
And the thing is, if you watched it at the stadium, you wouldn't have seen it. But if you watched it on TV, every single time Declan Rice scored a free kick, picture Jude Bellingham and his face like this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know what it is? Like, you have to respect the guy that just scored the first. I was having a debate which one free kick was better, because I thought the first one was better. Reason being because it was
started out so wide,
and it curled as well, innit? And obviously the second one, no brainer, no one can stop that.
Yeah, but for me it's debatable. Whichever one, like if you said the first one and you said the second, I'll be like, you guys are both right.
Because they were both incredible. Great free kicks, man. Crazy, man.
Of course, man. And you know what?
Sorry, go on.
For me, I was gonna say, because obviously we're talking about the next leg, innit? Like, I'm more
PSG.
good. No, I think we'll beat them because we already beat them this season, but that's when it didn't really count, innit? So I think like everyone really wrote us off for the first round against Real Madrid. Same thing again. You got lucky. Real Madrid is not the same, but everyone knows it doesn't matter if Real Madrid.
Real Madrid is Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid, they turn up, bro. Like for example, the City, the years before that, they're just doing their thing, innit? So for me, I think Arteta's got a bad boy plan. Like, he's like, the only problem we've got the first game, Partey being out. I suggested that we play Lewis Kelly in midfield.
Where's Jorginho? Is he injured?
I think he's injured.
I would never play him that game though. I wouldn't play him Champions League. I think he's too slow, and he does this thing where I know it's crazy, but he does this thing where, like, when I coach kids and I see them do it, when they're over the ball and they're just holding them back and the ball's like that, they're far away from them. It's like, it's just a little rookie error, you know what I mean? Like, he's been known for like moving that ball really well. Just do that, just do that. But when he stays on the ball for too long,
that 1-2 touch is brilliant, Jorginho.
Yeah, long, and like anything more than like 5 seconds on the ball. He hasn't got a piece.
Skelly in midfield's a good shot though. With Rice. Because Skelly, I reckon he'll boss it in midfield.
Do you know the thing is, he actually plays in centre midfield in academy. So like, this is obviously a little thing that we've had years ago. So we was called in at London Colney years ago, when it was about Miles and Ethan, when it was under 12, and they mentioned them two being the best players in academy. Yeah, Miles and Ethan, and I was like, obviously they told us, don't tell nobody, since it's the topic. But I think about it now, and I'm like, I laughed at it because Saka was there. Eddie Nketiah was there. Maybe they counted those players more as they're really in that first team environment. But you looked at it and said, wow, like, these two got, like, their ceilings were crazy, Most of the time they played a year up. When they played their own age group, it was just for big games, etc. But they've even, like, how much of effect that these two boys had at the club is when they delayed signing their scholarship, the effects on that affected the academy, meaning that, like, Edu was involved, and Edu and the head of first team scouting, now they changed the whole academy. So,
really?
Yeah, academy's changed now. It's not the same no more, because where before it was about grabbing the best players, now it's about report writing, because they want to get to know who's...
What's that about, sorry?
Report writing.
So what's that? Can you just break that down for people that might not know?
Yeah, so the report writing is obviously just like, if you bring a player on trial, you would have to do like reports of the player. Okay. So the club has a certain amount of knowledge of the player, what kind of thing.
Okay.
Most of it is quite simple and, very simple, and like, it makes it easier for anyone to read that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think what they changed is like what they do at the first team, what they do at grassroots, not the same, because the first team, everyone's names, etc. You can get that database quite quick. But I think like little things, because these players are not signing their big contracts. Everyone's scratching their head. You look at Rio, who went to Liverpool from Chelsea, and he's a top player. Like, he was from under 8s. He was probably one of the best players.
Who's that?
Rio, who's at Liverpool right now. Rio, I forgot his last name.
Oh yeah. He's meant to be like quality.
I can tell you that already. Like if you got clips of him years ago, he just crazy. His footwork was amazing. But I've seen it time to time where you got these players in Chelsea and Arsenal and all these other academies that got mad technical footwork. Then a couple of years later you don't hear their names again. But Rio's one that he just developed and same as like Miles and Ethan. You know, you watched. I still till this day watch the Arsenal documentary with Jack Wilshere where
he mentions about Ethan.
But even when you just watch them playing those games, you just knew that them two was like dominating. Obviously, there was a lot of players around them that were still dominating, etc. But then Miles and Ethan made at the age of 14s, they made a big impact in that game because 15 they was already playing first team. So you really know the future for those boys.
What about Max Dman? We went to the Arsenal.
Let me take this as a United fan. Let me take it because you're gonna sound biased. All right. So
Max Dman.
So we went. So me and Jordan went to the under-18s quarter-final, Man United and Arsenal at the Emirates a few weeks back. And now I watch Man United's academy players often, and we've got some ballers like you probably know as well. Man United have got a hell of an academy. We've got brilliant players coming through. But Max Dman just turned 15, I think, at the time, or he just turned 15. He ran the game. He was the best player in the game. He got two.
Do you know who he reminds you of? Odegaard.
Yeah, he does.
Of course.
But he's more. But he seems more athletic than Odegaard.
Yeah,
he's ball retention and passing and everything. Yeah, but he's got.
But even his movements is very close to Odegaard. The only thing you're right is he's more accurate and his final third is better.
He could go a level above that.
Of course. But that's the thing is this is one thing that we always see. For example, I remember when I was like 17, 18, I remember watching like Jack Wilshere and all of these boys, probably before that actually, Jack Wilshere, all of these lot. And I remember watching like the striker, what's his name again? Like there was Chuka Akpong, there was all these players, and you just like you're thinking like whack, like you're banging in for 23s, you're scoring 30 goals, and then.
But it's that transition to the first.
Balogun was like that as well, wasn't it?
Balogun was like that, but Balogun was a funny one because like even though you mentioned, let's go back onto Dman. So his scout is actually one of my friends, Johnny Knight. So Johnny Knight actually brought him to the club and etc. And like his parents, I have to give them respect because they actually went back and. You know, like as scouts, you get limited of equipment, etc. So his dad's obviously sponsored. They're sponsored by Adidas, and then his dad was able to get him a set of clothes and extra things. And like little things like that as scouts, we really appreciate. Like it don't mean nothing, it don't cost you nothing as well at the same time, but just a little gesture. But
shows love.
But Max is for the last couple of years, his name's been screaming.
Yeah, it has been ringing. But honestly. I remember, like, every time he was running through, the only way to stop him was to foul him. He won a penalty. He got, I think, 2 players booked in that game. And it was just, I think he must have won about 6-7 fouls. Do you remember by the end of the game, he was like limping. They kicked him out all over the pitch. And these are kids 2-3 years above his
after
age.
that game as well, the amount of clips I saw on Instagram with him from that match.
And we saw that live, which is crazy. But
I didn't watch that game live actually, but I saw the clips and I was like, he done it again because he's been doing it again and again.
Mate, he's a baller.
Yeah. Like,
before we move on to the proper questions, I want to ask you about one player because obviously
I got one as well. Yeah, go on.
Cheeto.
Cheeto Damati. So his one was a funny one. So he came from, I can't remember what country he came from.
Denmark.
Denmark, that's what it was. And then, so he plays actually one of the boys our boy in Arsenal. So Louis John, sorry.
Yeah.
Louis
tall fella.
No, he's a light skinned left winger, right winger, left wing.
I don't know if he played that game. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think he did actually. So them two always play off each other, but Cheeto was like just a big unit up front, you know what I mean? And I think Man United didn't go well, but I think his first choice wasn't even England. He only stayed there because of like visas purposes, etc. Because he has to stay one more year.
I heard that Dortmund really wanted him,
and that's what I think.
And I think Bayern as well.
I think he would have went to those clubs first, but then obviously because he's only been in the country for 4 years, and then for him to get a British passport, he has to have 5 years, etc. So so don't get too excited. Yeah, don't get too excited.
But the thing is, but you know what, you say that.
I don't know. That's what I've been told. Because the thing is, when he obviously came into the club, obviously Arsenal tried to protect him. So clubs do this thing where they protect players and they don't want them to expose them to other clubs. So because he's such a top player, they don't want to expose him. And I believe he had a brother as well. So what they did is they kept him with one of our scouts, so a guy called Paul from Hackney, Crown Pro. I think he's the head of recruitment at Watford Academy.
Wow, okay.
So he kept him like hidden, and Now, if you go on that page, you're always promoting Chido videos, etc. But then it's funny because at that point there, I just thought just any player, you know, I thought the club would just bring any player. But as he stepped up, like his power, his strength, and his drive, I think if he stayed at Arsenal, he could have made it because, you know, we got injuries.
But I've heard that his family are United fans. That's what I've heard. I've heard Chido family United fans.
It could be though. Actually, I wouldn't know that, man. I wouldn't put that past them too much because, you know, Africans, they love the United or Arsenal's. You know what I mean? Or Chelsea. or Chelsea's. I'm African as well, so just putting that there as well.
I've got one more player to ask you about before we move on to some questions for you. Smith Rowe. Was he in the academy? He must have been in the academy.
Yeah, I believe he came about 12 years before my time, to be honest.
Yeah.
He came like just a few years, but he was like, I think he came out the 9th, 12 or something. Yeah. You know, his one was a similar story because he came obviously similar time as Saka, and I thought like he was one of those players that he was always scaling up. So he wasn't like more like, for example, you guys talk about Max, like he wasn't. But I think when he got to the first team, he just changed the whole game. He became a different player, and that's the best part about it. Like, you don't have to be the best. Like, for example, like what the best story I have to share to you guys actually is Alex Iwobi.
Hold it back. Yeah. Go on.
Go on.
Go on. No, I was going to say, I was going to ask you the question, but go on.
Yeah, no, go on.
If you've started, you've started.
Nah, go answer the question.
No, go on. Just go.
No,
Iwobi, go on.
Now, Iwobi was a funny one because obviously his uncle is, you know, JJ Okocha, innit?
Yeah.
And obviously his scout still currently works at the club, so I don't want to say his name, but they all said it, like Chuka, Alex Iwobi was bottom of the group. He probably just about got signed because of his uncle. And that's obviously me just saying it from what I heard, but I don't want to put out there saying that's what I think, innit? Yeah. But then he even says himself like he was just working his way up. And to be honest, it's funny because he got his first team break because the under-23 coach said that Arsene Wenger asked for a player and he didn't want to give one of his best players because he won't get him back. So what he did is he said, there's even video clips I got out, and he said, take Alex. And then take Alex, and then he never came back. And that's the thing about being academy. So if you perform that great, you won't come back. But then, you know, going to add on to like the years when I first started in like 2017 and those years before that, what Arsenal Wenger used to do quite a lot was, for example, Reece Nelson. I know he scouts.
He was meant to be a top player. You
always talk about.
To be honest, he was better than Jadon Sancho. Yeah. He was better than Sancho.
He's meant to be like him and Hudson-Odoi in the academy is meant to be like top.
But the thing is, like, Reece was just on fire. Like, I remember watching him for the academies. Like, he was just different. Like, you know, when you're looking at and a winger, that was him. And then he just didn't do as great as he should have in the first team. But injury.
Why do you think that is, though? What do you think? Because
this is exactly what I just. You know, it's something that I've always wanted to know.
Why is it they break into the first team and they can't
maintain it?
What is it? What do you think it is? Being a scout, watching them.
The thing is, obviously, I'm not doing that age, so it's hard to say. But then, from my opinion, I think what really goes to it is a self-belief. Like, some players play too safe. So if you watch Reece Nelson, he played it very safe at Arsenal. He didn't take risks, and then sometimes the biggest issue is you go to these academies and such a big names or smaller names, etc., and you become assistant player. And you want to avoid that situation because you still want to do your own thing and express yourself. So especially as wingers, attackers, you want to be like, for example, I run a team and I got so many friends that run teams, etc. Everybody's got a rule. But if you got the best player in the pitch, that rule slightly changes. You see, like Saka right now, like he comes back, but he doesn't really have to come back. So if Saka obviously applied that theory in his mind, I'm probably one of the best boys, star boy, etc., and he starts to become lazy, that could obviously take a toll. But because he's working hard, he knows he's probably got about 10 to 12 years in the game. He's committed to doing everything, you know. And I came last season, actually. Saka came to Hayland. And this is one thing that the clubs need to do, very important. Like obviously Arsenal, where we got Hayland, and Hayland is away from the first team, and the academy boys don't get to see the first team to inspire them to, you know, they do bring players over. Obviously Mohamed Onene and Cedric and what's his name again, Xhaka. They came to do the coaching badges before they left, and then You know, sometimes you get the goalkeepers coming down as well. But I think that's important for the players to know where they could be,
where they can head to get to.
So you think it would be great for them to integrate?
Yeah, no, I think like for me, when I see clips of obviously like even the younger under nines, etc., the ones that get signed playing with the first team, it inspires them because football.
Yeah, of course.
It's just about knowing the final goal because you know you get signed at the age of like under 8s. You know you sign in for the first year under 9s. You still got about another 10 years before you actually make it. It's such a long time, and that's some of the challenges that parents have. You know, it's about what like where did they get to? You know, sometimes being the best player in academy at that young age is not the best thing, or it's very hard. You know, but it's very interesting. But yeah, going back to your point, Smith Rowe, I was obviously talking about first team. I was probably the ones that said let's sell him.
Huh?
Yeah, I said let's sell him.
He's not gonna like it.
No,
What was we selling to?
No. Before he left to Fulham, I said let's sell him. The reason
As in, that was your opinion.
Yeah. My
Oh,
opinion.
I thought he was.
He's what they pulled the trigger, innit?
I thought you said that reason out to there's a reason.
He pulled the lever, innit? He pulled the lever.
I love Smith Rowe. That's like
You're not the only
Smith
one.
Rowe's like my next Jack Wilshere. No, like,
Yeah.
that's
But this is what I'm talking about. I mean, again, I've watched a lot of academy football with Man United, and I look at so many players. Like Scott McTominay came through Man United a few years back. And Scott McTominay was not high on the priority list of players that was meant to come through.
Yeah.
But the reason why he got promoted to the first team was because, and you know what, I feel like this is another reason as well, which we'll come back to in a second. It's the managers, what the manager prefers, because Mourinho wanted a tall, strong, physical player, and at the time Scott McTominay I think was 6'1" or 6'2".
He fits the description what you need.
Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it worked. And even now, Mourinho says McTominay's my boy. You know what I mean? He still calls him his boy because he trusted him, he liked him. And I feel like, depending on what the manager is, going back to what you were saying, because while you were saying that, I was thinking that as well. Arteta's obviously going to want systematic players, isn't he? Because of the way you play football. I want to say Arteta's pragmatic because he is generally a defensive-minded manager. Obviously, you know...
he is, obviously. He's not like a Liverpool front three where they're running at you consistent, you know what I mean?
So I feel like players that want to go and express themselves and play freely might not fit into his system. If you're going to sit there and you're going to do your work and physically and, you know what I mean, tactically, then you'll be more appealing to him. So I think that surely must affect the transition from the academy to the first team as well.
There's always that, and then there's always like, for example, you know, when you sign for a club, especially if you go into like, let's say you're making a move to another club, the most important thing you got to think about, because I know Prince Bowen spoke about, was it Kevin? Yeah, Kevin Briscoe was a
Prince Boateng.
That's it.
Boateng, yeah.
He mentioned that when he signed for Spurs, the mistake he did was the club wanted to buy him, but he didn't know the first team was not interested in him. So he went there to Spurs, making crazy money, but not playing first team because the club didn't actually care for him. But they wanted to filter them into 21s or 23s at that time. And then, you know what I mean? Like, he was obviously coming from Germany, young guy, and didn't have no money, was coming to the England, and he made so much money that he kind of dropped off as well. So some of the issues that you have as well, and for example, Chelsea did quite a lot, so where they have players that they give them top money, and then they need to get minutes, and now they're not making Chelsea's first team. Yeah, and then what's happening is their wages are so high that a lot of the lower clubs won't pay for them to come.
And they're on long-term contracts as well, aren't they?
You know, but at the same time, for example, if you wanted to leave the club and then the Chelsea say go find a club, or Arsenal say go find a club, etc. But then at that point there, you need to find a club that will pay you the salary, or you're gonna go for a pay cut. You know, it's a very situation. So like, do you go for the money at a young stage, or do you go for playing time? So like, there's a lot of players now, I think they're more hungry for playing time than money, where before it was a big time that actually was all about money. And you hear a lot in academies like, yeah, I'd rather take the money because, you know, this and that. But then you hear a lot of people just saying, no, I want to make it, I want to get to the first team. And it's definitely a hard question to ask yourself as a player.
But I think that's always... Sorry, I know you want to jump into some questions.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, it's good, man.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like that debate is always going to go.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that, even when I grew up watching football, some players would go for the money. I mean, Alan Shearer didn't join United, but he went to Newcastle because he wanted to go back to his boyhood club. You got to respect it, man. You know what I mean? But whereas some players like Alexis Sanchez left Arsenal, came to United for money because City wanted him. Do you know what I mean?
And then he came back and said he wanted to leave.
And then he said he wanted to leave after one training session. Yeah.
I thought Arsenal towards, especially before he got sold. I just think he was just you just kill the morale of the team. And I hate players that are bigger than the club.
Yeah.
Like I'm against that. Being bigger than a club doesn't exist, you know.
Especially at big clubs.
Yeah, especially like big club. Arsenal's got a big history, you know.
Yeah. Can't have that.
Well, we started off fiery already. We had a good debate already, but we're gonna get into some questions now, and yeah, let's go. Obviously, you said it already, but who are you? What do you do? And who are you? And what do you do in the football world?
I don't think we need to ask that.
Nah, but
yeah.
Let's.
But yeah. Just for the guys,
yeah. So who are you? And what do you do in the football world, basically?
So I'm Coach Mo UK.
Yeah.
I was just originally just Coach Mo, but then the names kept getting changed around, so I just went Coach Mo UK because I was doing a bit of coaching in Canada recently. My missus from Toronto. Wow. So I've been there doing the talent over there is not bad as well. Obviously as overall the level is not the same because there's no academy. The academy system is quite later in age. But I do a bit of coaching. And also for me is I don't like to use the word coaching because I think for me it's player development.
Yeah.
I don't. Now I'm starting to change my ways. I like to work with players that have a vision. So, I like players that know what they want to achieve and etc. Like a lot of the things is over the years, a lot of coaches will tell you that you have parents that are more interested in the kid, and then it becomes a force. And yeah, that's just me pretty much. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So So I've been scouting for Arsenal about 8 years. So I've left recently.
8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Yeah. And I went through a lot of changes of first team manager that affects the academy as well. So you're always on your toes, etc. You always get new head of recruitments, and they want to bring their people in, and But I've got my fair share of numbers of players assigned at the club that are doing really well now. I've done a database recently because obviously I'm on the verge of just moving to another club as well. That I don't want to.
You told me about.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil that too much.
Yeah, don't say that.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil that too much, but. I've done a database and obviously taken it to the next club, but I think I had about 120 players across different academies in the UK. So players I picked up from Arsenal didn't get signed or went to Chelsea or went to etc. Or players that were lower clubs, etc. Lower cats, because those players you don't sleep on because they can get sold and move on and go to the bigger clubs. Even now, there's one of our players that I brought him in and he was at Chelsea, got released, and now we're just trying to find him a club for him. So. But he's already got offers all the clubs, so me just helping him out is just not really nothing new because he's already got something, So, but he's just supporting them through there. So what I do is actually I do scouting, which is like for me is like I can do this the whole day and not think it's work.
You enjoy it, yeah?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Coaching, I say is a bit more technical because you got to plan a session to make sure that you're getting good results. So. Results speak for itself, and then that's why I like with regards to coaching. There's more to it. There's feedback, but where I think I come a bit stronger than a lot of coaches because I do scouting. So if I watch you in the game, I can actually give you feedback on what I've seen and where I think you've
analysing.
Yeah, where you need to improve.
Yeah, because a lot of coaches just watch. They just do training session and training session. Some kids are like Messi's, training. And some kids are like, they're nobodies, but then when they go to a match, they're destroying it. So
I find that crazy, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what? Even when I used to play when I was younger, it's just mad how some players I was quality in training, but in a game I was lost. I was lost in a game. Yeah, I was good in training, but in the games I was lost. But
that's because the coaches are keeping you busy in training because you're doing a session about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So in the hour, every coach. This whole thing of standing in a line doesn't exist no more. Every single player should be on the ball doing something. So in a training session, you're going to look like Messi because you're always busy. But then in a match where you're actually reflecting on what's happening or you're getting distracted, nothing's happening. This player might kick you. A lot more to think about. That's why like Jude Bellingham hits the top because for me it was like he's a player that actually does in a match and he can does in training as well for me. So.
You've seen him in training.
Yeah, I've seen clips of him. Yeah, not close up. I've seen clips. Yeah, I've seen clips. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Let's move on. So how did you get into coaching and scouting, and what was the journey of getting into that? So
my story was quite funny because actually my brother was in year 7. He went to a school up in Highbury. Which is my old school, and then I got his
proper gooner.
Now, of course,
and you said you're not supporting Man United.
Yeah,
You're perfect like yourself, brother.
I never thought.
We're not there yet.
I never really thought that far ahead. That's why I said that. But
I
yeah.
had to wake you up. My God.
So I got him to literally bring all his friends. So I had about 13, 14 players, no experience.
What age was that? How old
So under sevens, year sevens under 13. So straight 11 aside. First year, no experience, just give it a go. Got
just the coaching,
coaching, yeah. So, but then I think the year after that, I just said, you know what, let me find an organisation that's going to help me. So I was getting my badges, etc. And then from there, the next step for me was obviously finding a club that will help me. So one guy that I played against, he said, I'm starting a new team, let's do something. And, you know, we actually started a club in Camden, in Islington, and we started about 5 teams a year after. So my second year, with five teams straight away. And then we just made impact after that. So we came in a market where there was no teams in there, and it was AFC. We called AFC Arsenal fans, you know what I mean? So it was AFC, and then, but funny enough, he's actually a Middlesbrough plus Man United fan. So he's the one that came with the name. I was only like 18. So at that point there, I was just like 17, 18, just learning the game. I just was going with the journey. But I put myself a target. I said, I want to work for Arsenal for 5 years. 5 years, Arsenal came about 4 years, but then through
That's
HR.
crazy. So you set yourself a goal to work for Arsenal within 5 years?
Because the thing is, obviously, me as a player, I got into football quite late. So for me, it was like, how do I help? What can I do? Like, am I just going to coach? I said, no, I want to get into scouting. And then through that first 4 years, I was working with Crystal Palace. So the first organisation I was working from, they had links with, there was a South London base, so they had links with Palace. So what I was doing is just pure volunteer. That's why now football is crazy, because anyone that steps in, they want to make money straight away. I spent 4 years getting no money.
Grafting.
Literally, the first time I got paid at Palace was the year they gave me a paycheck for 1 month. I didn't like it. I walked out. I swear to God.
What, you didn't like the amount that they paid you?
Nah, the money was great. I was 17, 18 years old, you know, making good money. It was actually great money at the time.
So what did you like?
So if you want to know the amount, it was probably about 300-400, and that was like a monthly fee. But then the thing is like where I'm just scouting around my area, I'm not driving, I'm taking a public transport. So for me, it was like grafting. I was going out.
As in you didn't like the commute, you didn't like the journey?
No. Do you know what it was? Every club goes through changes. So at that time when I was offered a job, there was the clubs were going for changes as well, and then it was a kind of like a power struggle. So people was on top, etc. Yeah,
so politics.
It was you know, and anyone that come to you about academies, it's sometimes it gets like that, you know, where it's a power struggle or it's toxic and etc. But for me, it was like, you know what, I did my thing, and I'll be honest, I got no player signed, but it was one of the things that for me it leveled me up. And then when I got to go, I met a friend, and he was working at Chelsea, and he offered me a job, and Chelsea actually put someone else in that job instead of me. So I was like, what? And then he was like, I'm really upset, etc. You know, old English guy, Martin Taylor, and then he was bringing 20 years in the club, bringing players in, etc. And he was obviously trying to step up the levels, and things didn't work out, whatever. And then they bring my friend Joe Black. So I said, you know what, it's better than you than someone else.
Yeah.
I always say, you know, keeping it better than keeping the community. So he went there, and then my friend left to go Arsenal, and I said, he's like, I'll bring you Arsenal. I said, well, that's my year goals. That's my goals. But then obviously it wasn't that easy. It wasn't just like connections, because connections are quite a lot. Obviously connection was to get me through the door. But then for me to get that contract was actually, I knew all the players at professional clubs like Charlton, because some of my players were signed at Charlton. So I was able to say, yeah, that's Matthew, that's this person. And just the knowledge of the areas, etc. That was what got me there. And like coaching tips, scouting tips is always like, know your area, know the best players, know the players that even play for the club you're trying to work for. Like, that's the most important thing. If you know the best players in your area, then that actually sets your standards. So I always compared. I'll be like, I got Jordan here, and I got, you know, is he better than Jordan? Nah, it's not really. You know, then we move on, and I used to do it that way, but I realized that did work, but then it changes, because, for example, you might suit another club better than what Jordan might suit. You know, so even in academies in the UK, it's so different, because like you got West Ham that probably goes a lot. If you look at their pictures on other academies, everyone's about 6 foot.
Oh, swear.
Yeah, it's crazy, but the thing is, they're doing quite well though. So under 13s won a tournament the other day. I've got a boy inside in there. He went on trial Arsenal. Then
their academy's actually good though, West Ham, isn't it? I'm sure.
They beat Arsenal. They beat Arsenal 2 years ago with Jack Wilshere being coach in the FA Cup final. So yeah, the thing is, West Ham is. They do well because they win the power game, so they play big boys. You know, they have.
But at that age, you know better than I do. But at that age, physicality is a lot. It's a big difference, surely.
You know what's funny? Because I actually thinking about it now. I've got kids that like signed. They're like what we say Q4. So Q4 is like June, July, August.
Yeah.
And because obviously we start the school year from September, so they're like the last ones going into it. And then those players. It's funny because Arsenal said at one point they looked at their first team and most of the players were Q4. But then if you look at most academies, they're Q1 and Q2. So that means September borns, and that means these boys have like maybe a year advantage. Yeah. So someone like, for example, some of the boys that got signed at current under 10s at Arsenal, they're Q4, and then you got some other boys, and they're obviously Q1. So that distance in kids football, especially younger ones, 6 months to 8 years, 6 months to a year, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, serious? It plays a lot, yeah?
Yeah, of course it does. But again, this and goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier, with the whole Max Dman thing. Yeah. This is why I was so impressed, because forget a year, 6 months to a year, he was playing against kids 2-3 years older than him
and bossing it.
Do you know what I mean?
But you know what it is though? He's got self-belief. Like Max, if you watch him, you just see the day-to-day basis when you see them in academy. He's just confident. That's what it is. A lot of it's confidence, self-belief,
mentality, innit?
Yeah, and that's why like Cristiano Ronaldo's probably like in sense of like educating the kids. He's probably one of the best. At one point, actually, Rio Ferdinand was quite doing good because he was actually like going inside the training room and trying to find that information that I want to know. Like for example, I think there needs to be more pro footballers like sharing tips for players.
Yeah.
Because like I met Harry Redknapp and then I said to him, give some tips, and everyone just says simple, just work hard, and I get that point. But then the thing is for example, the same question was asked to Declan Rice, and he said work hard, and he said what? They said what? He goes at everything. So I get that point, but then sometimes people that actually are literal learners and they want to know what they need to really achieve, there needs to be somebody out there, and obviously all the coaches in London and UK that are trying to educate that information.
Pinpoint certain things.
Yeah,
what you can
they're
do.
trying to educate it, but then the thing is, imagine like we had like Rio Ferdinand that's going into Man United, and he gets the thing is a lot of clubs obviously don't want to expose too much of what they're doing, because obviously that affects. So even right now, as coaches, they can't bring other friends over to the clubs. You know, a lot of clubs are starting to crack down on that. You know, having people coming over. So because it's a business, you know, I know it's an academy, but for most players, it's an academy, but then when it gets to 13, 14, 15, that's when it becomes a business, because you're that player that actually might make them money or might not make them money.
It's crazy how it's a different outlook, you know what I
mean?
I like this.
This is why I like talking to people like yourself, because you get to see a different aspect of football. This is why it's called On the Bench. Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, man.
Right, so what's like a typical day look like for you? What's like, so you get up in the morning,
so like,
what's a typical day for you?
Let's talk about from a scouting point of view. So on weekends, you know, I'll probably get up about 7:38. If I got a game at 9, that's probably the most time the game starts on the weekend. It's about 9. So I'll pop over to whatever area I'm at. So just recently, like normally I'm quite confident going different areas and just watching games. But then working at like bigger clubs, you would kind of assign your own games. So you say, I'm going to go to Hackney Marshes, I'm going to go to, you know, Mabley Green or something like that, or Market Road, and then you know what kind of games you want to watch. So I'll just start off like 9 o'clock, watch 1 or 2 games, because the games are like next to each other. You watch 1 or 2 games. Ideally, if you spotted a play and you want to watch a play, you watch one game. You know, some of the mistakes I did probably was younger. I was watching the player once and then bringing them in. Because you're like,
I was just going to say, how many times would you watch a player?
Yeah, so the older you get, the thing is you want to see the tables as well in the league. So they change the system now, so you can't actually see who's on top, etc. But if you know the area, you know like this team might be the best and this team might be best. So then you want to see how he does against those kind of boys. Like as of recently, one parent that I met through somebody, he's asked me to watch his. It's not a parent actually. It's like a grandma's friend. And anyways, I went, family friend, etc. So I went to watch the kid. He fancies himself as a winger, and they said he's like a Vieira.
What, Patrick?
Not Patrick, sorry. I mean a Robert Pires, sorry.
Right. Okay.
And then I said, really? And then the lot. I feel like I was watching it maybe the whole 70 minutes. The last 10 minutes he played out front, and I was like, yeah, he's got something, but that was not enough. So the
You
thing
need to go
is,
watch him again now.
but I know his coach, and his coach said to me, Mo, he's a striker. So obviously the kids obviously said I want to be a winger, but he's done nothing the whole wing because a standard what I think of a winger is someone that can take a player on 1v1, you know, crosses,
Bit of pace.
Yeah, he's got paces, big boy pace, etc. But I think in behind those movements will probably be more natural to him. And that's why some people, like, they need to know what their strengths are. And a lot of players don't know their strengths because, like me, I was a fullback. I was more of a Gary Neville fullback, like defend, strong, play the ball. You know what I mean? No, because I would have
got on, man. We would have got on.
I would have liked to be obviously like an Arsenal fullback, or up and down running. You know what I mean? Making me work like
Lee
a
Dixon.
Yeah, but then,
Well, by the way, Gary Neville was up and down. Let me just say that now. Gary Neville.
no, but the thing is, is like you know, you just make those passes. You're not really taking your player on.
Yeah. No,
but the thing is, like, I knew who I was. But then the thing is, if I didn't know who I was, and I thought I'm like a
Cafu.
I need to take a free kick, so I need to take a penalty. You know, it would have just stopped there. But for me, I think most important is like knowing your strength in it. A lot of players need to know their strength. And sometimes when you ask someone where you play, you always say, "Oh, I play anywhere." And the thing is like, yeah, I get that question because that question is you planned it well. So that players planned it well because they're like.
But you want a specific position, something to work with.
The thing is, like for example, now the way that football is going, they're looking for players that can play multiple positions.
Yeah. Especially Arsenal, the way we sign players as well.
Lewis Skelly.
Yeah.
Midfielder playing left back.
Everyone we sign can play.
Well, Saka played left back.
Saka play left back, yeah.
So the thing is, I always say, if you're trying to get first team, whatever position they want to play, you play it. I've had players that are strikers and they're going to sign as a right back. You're thinking, what the hell? But then the thing is, maybe his runs are better as a right back, and I said to him, just get him through the door, and then you can work your way up. Because just because you're not playing your favorite position doesn't mean that eventually you can't get there. But then it's like proving your point to stay there. And like,
yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Shane.
Yeah. Quick one. What's that key attributes you look for in a young player while scouting them? So obviously different positions will vary, but is there certain things that you would look for, say in an under 12 or 10-year-old?
So like, you know, with the younger one, especially if you're playing a smaller sided pitches on a 7-a-side, 5-a-side or 9-a-side, you're looking at how much touches you get on the ball. A lot of it is as well off the ball as well, because a lot of players don't do off the ball. They don't do enough off the ball.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, if you look at my phone, I get clips every single day. It's on the ball, and I say, but how are you off the ball? How do you do against this game? And that's why a lot of scouts don't judge the player based on clips. Clips is not enough. Clips is never enough. And I always get this funny thing is like, everyone shows you videos of them shooting. Do you know who can shoot as well? Me in the back garden. You know what I mean?
I can shoot.
You know,
it's true. I got clips on my phone top bins.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Shooting don't make like. If you showed me clips of you being a fox in a box and just scoring goals, left foot, right foot, headers, volleys.
Fair enough.
Like, you're in a box, you're causing danger, tap-ins, everything. Or you're hitting off players. That's what motivates me more. But I think some players, they're just like, you know, they don't even take a player on and then just take a shot. I want to see 1v1. Like, when I had a player, my first player I had on trial at Arsenal, my head of recruitment at the time was like, I want to see that player on the ball every minute of the session. Reason being is because you want to see how he dealt with being in an uncomfortable situation. How's his brains? Like, Arsenal's all about the brains. It's like, how can he get out of a little tight situation, little areas, and those kind of things that a lot of players need to be aware of. You know, they do the simple stuff. Some players just do the simple stuff, and that's not enough. You know, and I just had a conversation with someone else about it. They were saying, like, you look at those players that play in the grassroots, etc., or academies actually. They play centre midfield, very simple, very effective, but they don't get nowhere because they didn't take risks. There's not a lot of risk that players take, and that's what sometimes makes the difference between you becoming first team and you just becoming.
And I think it's obviously about when you take the risks, picking the decision making, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
It's important.
Yeah.
Back to something you said about your first player. How was that feeling, getting your first player through the door?
Do you know what it is actually? So bringing like when you scout a player, the excitement you get from the parents and the kid, it's like wow. So when I was working at Arsenal first, you don't have no kits, you don't have no ID cards.
Yeah.
You just get, you know, at the time it was maybe I think it was
you could
Puma.
be anyone. You could be anyone.
Yeah, it was a Puma. So you obviously have an ID card to conduct yourself. So, you know, you show them an ID card and then you give them a business card, but the business card never really. Sometimes they lose it and then you lost a player. So But the excitement, for me, the big thrill was actually seeing the excitement of the parent and the player, because that actually boosts your confidence and you get a little bit of joy of it. So
It's rewarding.
yeah, it's a lot of rewards from there as well. And then from that, I always tell the players that just because you got in and you are like a development center, or you're working your way up, you got to work hard. So you got to do some more sessions. So average now, players would need to train about 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think
even at the young age.
The younger ones, obviously, like if you watch them now, especially kids are like 5, 6 years old, they're training about 6 days a week.
Wow.
The level is hard, because actually when I started Arsenal, the youngest we had was under 7s. Then the year after was under 6. Now we got 5-year-old coming in.
That's crazy, man.
No, and when I say we, I don't mean Arsenal. I mean like every club is doing the same thing. So they got 5-year-old. And what it is the reason why everyone's competing against each other, because they want to get that play before them. So pre-academy is like, it's a Royal Rumble. If you ask a kid what club you play for, he'll tell you all the clubs in London. So,
what is the process as well? Like, so, for instance, you go to Hackney Marsh, like you said, maybe you see a kid, you think, all right, it's good.
Yeah.
What's your process after that, like, in regards to like bringing him into Arsenal now? What's like?
So if I've got a relationship with the club,
yeah,
I'll notify them. Say, you know what, I like your player, but I'm gonna come watch him again.
Number 6 or number 8 or 10. Or
no, most of the time you get to know the names, because they just say their names in it.
Okay,
so
right, okay.
You just say, I like Abdi or something. It's gonna put my someone's out there. And then you say Abdi's out there, and then you watch him again and see. And at that point there, it's all about your gut. So if you got that feeling in your gut, you're like, yeah, this guy's a baller. You bring him in, and then normally some steps. When I was probably in the early stage, they'll trust the scout a bit more. Yeah. So you go straight in.
Excuse me.
No worries. You go straight in, and that player might go straight on an 8-week trial, etc. Or there might be times that they invite a club in to go play against them to see the players themselves. But I think most clubs now in the UK, they have all development centres, which is like a filter procedure for them to see who's the best players and get them in. So you scout a player in, you notify a club, you do reports, or some clubs are different. Some clubs you just notify the head of recruitment and he brings a player in, and most clubs is just about reports and then get a player in, and then they go through the steps. So normally players will train 6 to 8 weeks at a development centre. Some could be there for like a year, depending on if their clubs are thinking that they have something about them. But if you turn that around in the 8 weeks and you get offered an 8-week trial, that's amazing. At the moment it's not really it's very rare for players to turn around. Some clubs are doing it, some players are doing it, but it's all about abilities, because if you tick in the box what they want, then they'll bring you straight away on trial. And then from there, 8 weeks trial is it's very tense, because in the 8 weeks you leave your grassroots club to go on an 8-week trial. And then, if you're playing for a club that you love, like Arsenal, you're an Arsenal fan, there's a lot of like pressure, a lot of pressure. So dealing with that pressure and then performing. So you train 2 to 3 days a week. So at that point there, you get a game on a Sunday as well. So it's about 3 sessions plus a game. But then I've had a player first 4 weeks was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I think they really made up the mind after the 4 weeks. Arsenal didn't want him, but after the 4 weeks, he started getting better, but it was too late. So sometimes that's why, like, they say that academies can be toxic, because players will come and ask you what position you play, and the minute it says "Zing, my position," I'm not passing the ball to you. It's you know what is I love the game. Like, for example, I don't really care like all the negative that there is in the game, but like.
But
like
surely the coaches should pick up on that. Surely
the thing is not really, because if your coach is managing a game or something, they're not going to take
focus on it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is as well, you can tell the player like, yo, you need to step it up a little bit more. But then because it's safeguarding, you're dealing with young kids, and up to 18, there's still kids classified, young kids, etc. So you safeguard, and you can't go up to them and say, come on, like push, show us what you got, and. Sometimes, like, for example, scouts is not just bring a play in. Like, if anyone believes that, they don't know what they're talking about, because most of the time I've had to be involved in a player from when they come into the club to make sure they sign for the club, because players can use their contracts and then try to move someone else if you're working at a smaller club.
What, as in use it as leverage, you mean?
Some people do that, and you have smaller clubs, they'll try to work their way up to the bigger clubs. But then if you're working for a smaller club, you have to make sure that player signs. So as you're being a scout, you're the first contact of the club You're the first. You're
an ambassador. You're representing the club.
So scouts are actually probably the most important parts of any academy. Because if they don't bring the good players in, then you don't have an academy. You know what I mean? You don't have an
academy.
Yeah, and then
a lot of responsibility.
etc. So
go on.
No, go for it.
Have you ever brought in like a player and they're like, bruv, what are you doing?
Do you know what?
And they're like, what's going on?
No, you know what? Go back to when you said when you were younger.
Yeah.
You brought a player in after just one session, and then you said, go on. So give us an example.
So that kid actually is currently signing a club. So I wasn't like too far off. But then at Arsenal, like I saw him just in a dad shooting around in the park, etc. And I was like, yeah, this kid's decent. Because he's at the age where I could take a little bit of risk, I did it. And he was probably one of the best boys in the local centre, so it wasn't like it was a negative. But I just knew he was not going to get signed at Arsenal. So I feel like knowing the club you work for, like for me, I knew he was not an Arsenal player. And the thing is, when people say, what is an Arsenal player, it's hard to explain because you just have to see it. You have to just know it, you know?
Yeah. Over time, you understand he's too.
And that's the thing.
But I understand that because for me, he's not a Man United player.
But then, if you ask like head of academy, what's a Man United player, he'll probably just say like, you know what I mean? Like, he'll be like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know what I mean? So I used to think that I still think there is. I feel like there's players are suited for for other clubs. You know, so. If sometimes if you're a bigger player, you're not most technical. Some clubs are a bit more lenient to it because they're like, if we improve your technical, then we can make you a better player. And you look at like Declan Rice came from Chelsea, went to West Ham, and then West Ham.
Apparently, when he got released from Chelsea, loads of clubs were after him. They couldn't believe that they released him.
100% all the time. But the thing is, that Declan Rice was a much more smaller player than that. He was much more of a smaller player, you know what I mean? He wasn't as big as he was now. And then he went to West Ham, and then from West Ham, there was even a question mark if he was going to stay. I think there was a 50-50 call, and that was probably the best thing they did at West Ham was keeping him.
What, doesn't release him?
Yeah. And it happens a lot, though. It happens a lot.
Yeah, that just shows
you know, like, you know, you mentioned Balogun earlier on.
Yeah.
So the scout actually brought him back to the club. So Balogun was on trial. It was 6 weeks at a time because it used to be 6 weeks. Now it's 8 weeks. Balogun done 8 weeks trial, and then he got released, didn't get signed. And then what happened was a scout went to watch him again, but didn't realize he'd
been through the process.
Yeah, because remember years ago academies were only like 10 players. There was only like 10 scouts in the club, so it was very small. So he didn't know he was one of the players, because there's always players on trial. And if you live in North and they're based from South, you don't really know the player too much unless you're in their day-to-day basis and you know everything, right? So that player now, Balogun got released by Arsenal, and then the Arsenal scout went to approach him again and said, come back in.
Right.
And then at that point, he obviously messaged his academy manager, and his academy said, no, wait, we already had him in. We don't think he's good enough.
So I'm saying, nah,
trust me. So there was a loophole before. So the loophole was that academy manager went on holiday. So
no way. So he didn't know that he got brought back.
Nah, he put him back in, and then he got signed. And then look at him now. We sold him for probably one of the highest academy signings.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. It's mad. How do they miss these stars though? What is it?
Do you know what it is? I feel
what
like.
Do you believe it is, should I say?
Do you know what it is? Sometimes all the best players with their parents, they're putting pressure on the club. That's a lot of it.
The parents?
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure on the club.
In what sense?
Like, for example, you're the best player in the academy right now. Or you think you're currently the best player in the academy. You're going to try to get the best deal for your son. If that means you get 1 year scholar, 2 year pro, or you get 2 year scholar and no pro after that. Or if you do 1 year, you know, some players, everyone varies, you know. So the best players tend to get 1 year scholar and 1 year pro. And then from there, they obviously extend it, renew it, etc. But some people ask for like ridiculous money because they know that other clubs will offer them the same.
Yeah.
So for example, actually, Ethan was, from what I heard from rumours, he was offered at 30k per week at Chelsea. And
imagine my surprise. I knew you were going to say Chelsea.
Yeah, but to be honest, he was a Chelsea player before. He was a Chelsea academy player from under 9s, and I think we left. Then he came back to Arsenal.
My boy. Good decision.
Yeah.
He's a baller.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... And look, I've got another question, because I've got so much questions to ask you. All right. Yeah. English players, they don't have a lot of flair. Do you believe
I think that's changing, in my opinion.
They don't have a lot of flair. So, for instance, when you might scout in a player, do you see a different side of the player until then he goes into the academy, then he starts to play? What's the word? Is it systematic?
Systematic.
Yeah. So it's just a bit. They don't play freedom. Like you watch Lamar play in Barcelona. He looks like he plays. He's played like that.
But that's La Masia, man.
I know,
that's
but
the way
he
that
looks
they
like
have to
he's
play.
played like that his
All
whole
his
life.
career,
Like, you
yeah.
could have scouted him how he's playing, and he's gone into and he's still playing the same way. And I find English players they don't have that freedom. Do you find that gets coached out of them?
Do you know what it is?
Academy?
As you mentioned, there's a lot of changes. Like now, the Premier League, the FA is actually making changes to grassroots football.
Okay.
That's going to probably benefit them in the longer run. So, in the olden days, 10 to 15 years ago, it used to be 11 aside or 7 aside. Then never used to be 9 aside. So 9 aside was introduced, and then now 5 aside has been introduced. Now I think they're changing it. They're going to make 3v3, so that way everyone's getting touched on the ball. So that means that the FA is actually stepping up their game to make sure that everyone develops at the same speed, or not the same speed, but then everyone's
Giving
getting
them a good chance.
Yeah, so the development program is, even if the club don't their coach pass in, but then they're in a game, they have to play 3v3. And some academies are doing it right now, where I think my friend went to go play against MK Dons. Under 11s, they're playing 3v3. They just want to see the boys just get as much touch as possible. And I think that's probably the best way, because there's 3v3, you have to think about this, is only, if you beat one player, pretty much just goal, and you can go shoot. So you're encouraging players, take a player on and score. So at that point there, it actually develops that player so much better, because they're getting the results. They're doing skills, they're doing a 1v1, and they're working on shooting, and also they're working on defending. So you're covering the fundamental of coaching.
Fair enough.
So I think, to answer your question, is I've actually had people ask me that question multiple times, and I say, English football, there's a lot of system football, and that's why we're probably one of the best leagues, because if you look at the big clubs, you have to play the system. So, but the players with flair, for example, I think the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, England's got really top three. Like they got a great attacking fourth and defenders, etc. You had Carl Walker, probably one of the best fullbacks in the country at the time. So it's not that England didn't have the players. Is for Southgate, for example, he obviously chose players that worked for him. Like Ben White was ripping at Arsenal, but then Ben White, can he do it at England where
Jack Grealish wasn't really playing first team for England a lot of the time, and he was
but
most flair player.
But then look at Phil Foden. Like for me, I think Pep's probably bring the best out of him. So sometimes it's like and this is what it is. I had players that left my team and probably played better for other teams, and then vice versa. You see what I mean? So
Absolutely.
So it's about it's just about what works for you, and everyone's got their own system. If you guys start a team, you would have your own system as well.
That's true.
And I'm hoping that you guys do make your team, man.
I wouldn't have on the bench team soon.
Exactly.
Players for me.
Yeah.
I want to go Ballers League. I want to go Ballers League. We need some players. Mo's gonna sort us out.
It was the N5, man. Disappointing, man. They're bottom of the table, man.
Whose team is that on?
I think it's Robert Perez.
Robert Perez,
Of course.
So how do you evaluate potential versus current ability?
So the academies actually have a thing for that. They have I don't know if every academy, because obviously I've only worked for a few, but they rate a player based on if they're below training expectation level, if they're current, or if they're exceeding. So some players, they would say that this player is playing above the age.
I'm talking like you're watching a player.
Oh.
So if you're going to watch a match and you think, he's got potential, he's got the ability.
The thing is,
how do you differentiate it?
So it's a very hard question, because it's like it varies with different positions and different age groups, etc. But like for me,
10.
I think for me it's goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like if I get the goosebumps to say like, yeah, he's got it.
Yeah,
I follow my instinct.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just pure instinct. Like if that player's got it, then I'm gonna go with it. But then if I'm really got question marks after question marks, I might go ask someone else to come watch the player and see if that player matches it. And that's what clubs are doing now as well, where they're crossing scouts over and just to see if they can match the player. There's some scouts that are just monitoring the same players for the last 6 months and 3 months, and I've had players that I've told them they're not good enough, and that was the old days, and now you don't do that because the player will come and haunt you.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What if they make it later on?
Yeah.
Do you know what? No. Do you know what? Touching on that, I actually wanted to discuss something. I know it's quite a sensitive topic, to be fair, and I don't want to drop any names of any clubs or any players, obviously, but there was an incident of a few years ago of a player that got released from a certain club, and he took the news really, really, really badly.
And he committed suicide.
To the point where he took his own life, sadly. And
that's the thing is as well. Like now, big clubs are like trying to make that. They're trying to step up, but I think there's obviously for the mental health is very important. Like players that are getting released, there needs to be
the support system.
There
has to be, man. I think some of these kids is there, they genuinely believe they're gonna make it, and
especially if you love and support the club as well, and it's your dream.
The thing is, it's very difficult because like people are just going there for a job. So, for example, if you're a coach, you go there and you check out, So there needs to be somebody that does
checks
a home
in
visit,
24 hours.
Someone that's actually like just. Because obviously if the boys are getting released at 16, 17, 18, maybe the club can facilitate someone to go take them for trials, etc. They need to find something because I think for me, those cases are very sensitive. Like I know how it feels like because like imagine you're an Arsenal fan and you go to Arsenal and you get released and you've been there 5, 6 years, 7 years and then that point there, your life just crushes. And that's what a lot of players' life, that crushes, So any parents that's kind of going through that, that need support, I'm always the one that's supporting them. Like for me, like any boys that in my remix or my area or whatever, I've had a lot of players just in like kids that go into like 11 plus, so like year 7. A lot of parents have asked me for like to give them reference. I give that.
Okay.
I have parents that like that need support because
for when they go to another club and stuff. You mean?
No, I'm just talking about even schools, etc.
Oh, okay.
I've even got parents that like they would want me to like give them more mentoring than coaching. So just speaking to the boys, asking them the challenges. So, and then the hardest part is actually when a player gets released because I've actually got a player that's been released last season from QPR, and then I think Dad didn't want to push him back into it, but now the boy's showing that he wants it. So now I'm back on the graph with him, trying to get him back into a club. So, but he's still got a few things to work on. And every single time when there's players that are getting released, the clubs don't tell you, especially when you're signed for a club, they don't tell you that you're going to release your player. So you're going to hear from the player first that you release your player.
So the club lets the player know, and then the player tells you they've released me.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Why is that? Why don't they tell you?
The thing is, it's a lot of admin communication. Some people come in and do really well. So there's a lot of head of recruitments that do really well. But then sometimes, like where there's new people come in and they don't know who's a scout, etc. They don't really come and tell you. So, but then the thing is, I feel like a scout is, as I said, it's not just a scout. Scout is probably the worst name for it because they bring the player in. But now they're changing the word to talent ID, so it's more talent hunting, etc. But I think the name should be changed because I think I saw a video of like, what was it? This way should make me really proud was Fernando Torres when he went back to his Atletico Madrid, the Atletico Madrid, right? Yeah. And then the person that scouted him, after he scored, he went to give him a hug. Nice. So like for me, it was like, imagine you're like 10 years, like 8 years in a game and you went back to the club, etc. that you played for, and then that person now, you go back and show them love, So a lot of scouts, I always made this joke and I always said, I want a Ferrari and a Lamborghini when you make it pro. I've been in the game for like, for like 12 years. I haven't got those. I haven't got that car yet.
Not yet, man. Not yet. Yeah.
Have any of your players made it pro?
Yeah. So I've got players that used to play for my team. He's playing at Wycombe Wanderers. No, Wycombe Wanderers. Bolton actually, and he played against Arsenal.
Nice.
And then they got smacked, and he was a defender as well. So, but then I got a few scholars at the club, and then some one academies, and so no one big yet, but
it's coming.
It's coming.
Is there any like? Yeah, go on.
Because I think what it is. Sometimes you get in a club and then you start with all age groups, and then they start like putting into different age groups. So probably the last couple of years, Arsenal worked more the younger ones, so that's why I say it's gonna take me a longer journey. But if I was working with more the older ones, and
it's closer.
It's closer. Yeah.
Have you got ambitions to work at a higher age group? Would you say?
So you know what? I gave myself probably a 10 years challenge to get to the first team. I think I need to add another 5 years.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I didn't take enough risks, and that's my biggest challenge. I think any players and any parents and anyone else listening to them, I think you got to take risks. Because I'm out here now in my 30s thinking, I wish I took a couple more years of risk. But, you know, being a first team scout, most of them, their age is about 40, 50s, etc. But there's some young ones coming in through in their 20s and their 30s. So I'm like, why am I not in that situation? And sometimes you got to move clubs. And that's why I'm in that stage where now I'm moving clubs to kind of like get myself closer to the older boys and working first team. And
Fair enough.
yeah, so you got to take risks. And sometimes you got to step down to go to a lower club to like a Leyton Orient, a QPR, these kind of clubs go lower and then just work your way up. So because a lot of these clubs have less budgets than the bigger clubs, so that means there's less players and less scouts in the club. So you actually have a higher ratio of getting players signed. So when I was Arsenal, I was the only one in North London. I was loving it.
Oh, really?
I was loving it, mate. Like there was a few players I missed here and there, but then because it was such a big region, but then any boys that was coming from North London, it was me.
That's crazy.
And then now, if I tell you about North London, across like they have like different age group phases. There's about 7, 8, you know, scouts.
So you were the only Arsenal scout in North London?
Yeah, but then obviously the person that was like coordinator of the area, he was like Hertfordshire, etc.
Yeah.
He would do it at Enfield, and you know what I mean. But then we'll come together and all that stuff.
People know you was a scout in the ends.
The thing is, you know what? Years ago, no. When I first started, unless I scouted you, you didn't know. And that way there was good at the time, but then now we're in a generation where social media and everything's present. And funny enough,
do you know what I mean? On the bench.
Everybody's gonna know you now, boy.
Everyone's gonna know you now.
Yeah, no, but I've helped a lot of boys, man. Literally, is like, and the girls' football is growing as well. The thing is, I've tried to push some girls at Arsenal. I never really have seemed to get them through, meaning that there's little like communication loss, etc. But then there are some girls, like especially in the younger age group. I love their young age group because some girls will boss the boys.
Swear.
Oh my gosh, you have not seen it yet. I've seen girls that have ripped boys up.
That's mad.
And then sometimes the boys has got the wrong mindset. If a girl's playing against you, we don't see race agenda. We just play in it. You know?
Just play football.
Just play football. But boys will be like, oh, I'm not gonna touch her because this and that. And then,
okay.
But she ain't having it.
She's coming on war. So, but yeah, there are some girls that are like wicked in them, and I think if you speak to any coaches, they'll tell you like some girls are good. I think where they get to like certain age group and then puberty comes in place, and then physicality. That's where things change, etc. But like Arsenal, they had girls from on the 9s, on the 10s training with the boys, just a few, not all of them, but then kind of to help them as well, and then challenge against the boys. And some of them did really good.
Fair enough.
I've got so much questions to ask. We've run out of time, man.
Yeah, shall I do a fire round?
I got a couple more questions. So what's your dreams and like how's the future looking for you? Obviously, you said you've got a club you can't really discuss right now.
Yeah.
But what's your dreams and what's your goals?
Future goals.
Future goals and dreams, man. We have to get you back on. So I got. Look how much questions.
I know.
So much questions. You have to come back on.
For me, especially when it comes to the social media, I want to get the education. But I want it to be better. I want people to like know, like what clubs to go to, what kind of coaching requirements you have. Because like if I'm having that conversation every single day with two different people, every time I'm meeting a new player and I'm getting the same information, if the information is out there, then everyone else can learn from it, because it's all education. Because football is like school, so you have to educate them certain things. So educating the parents, educating the kids. So for me, it's about obviously spreading the awareness, and then also from my point of view, is like for me, is I want to like kind of get to like doing overseas scouting as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go to the
like
favelas.
the Toronto thing.
I want to go to the favelas. Yeah, I want to go. No, I've had some boys actually come from like Toronto, and I bring them on trial in the UK. Yeah. So I've had some boys from America and UK that come on trial. So I've had them lucky enough. I got them into a couple of clubs. Yeah, but
people send me videos all the time, and I'm gonna send them to you, bro.
Yeah.
I swear down. I swear, bro. From the Simon video, they're like, please help me, man. I'm a football player. I'm like,
yeah,
bro.
the Africa market is a crazy one because there's so much talent in Africa. But then on my LinkedIn, obviously I've said I work at a professional club and you're a scout. You get so many players that message you. But the thing is, when you're doing senior football, you can't do that age group, And if I'm recommending someone to the senior football, just best know that it has to be top. So if someone's just sending me clips, I'm not really going to be too interested. So there's
especially if it's a defender shooting.
and the thing is, yeah, and then overseas players is so much difficult because since we left Brexit,
it's harder.
bringing players over is so much harder because they have to live here, etc., and then they have their passport, visas,
work permits, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, work permits is like, imagine you're playing for a pro club in like Middle East or something. You have to make a certain amount of caps before you even get to come over here. Obviously, if the younger ones, if you come in and there's one player in particular, amazing player, Ghanaian boy, amazing, can't get signed
by any English club.
Nope.
Do you know what? Sorry, I know we're running out of time. But just a quick one. So one thing that clubs have started doing, including Man United actually, is they've got partnerships with other clubs.
Yeah.
So for example, United have got under Ineos, is it Lejeune in Switzerland, I believe. So they've got a player that they've signed to that club, and then in a year or two, when if it's possible, then they'll potentially bring him over to Man United.
That's the same thing I see. You see, it's got that.
Girona.
Girona.
And I think they've got.
What is that like the loophole?
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah. Is it New York Red Bull? Not Red Bulls. I can't remember which club it is.
Inter Miami, is it?
No, not Inter Miami. There's another club in I think it's New York something, because I think Henry was coaching it or something as well.
Yeah, New York Red Bull, right?
It is New York Red Bull.
Is it Red Bulls? Is it? Yeah. But yeah, so
there's a loophole. That's how even like Lampard, how he was able to go play for City rather than Chelsea.
Yeah.
He went to America and then he came back and they loaned him out, and I was like, wow.
It's all connected.
But that's what I mean. So can you see more and more that happening in football?
Definitely, because even like Edu, why did he leave Arsenal? Because like the club, he's the
Olympiacos, Nottingham Forest, and a Portuguese club. I can't remember who it was.
And like for him, obviously, him being a technical director at Arsenal, this role is like just non-stop working. Just he can move players across so much more easier.
Yeah,
so
it's a bigger scope.
Yeah, but obviously from academy's point of view, it's going to be slightly a little bit different, because when you're younger age group, you probably won't apply too much because you have to get a pro contract for you to go in. So at the age of 17, 18, that's when you're eligible to get a pro contract. So younger boys, but there's loopholes. Obviously, there's loopholes everywhere. I'm still learning about them.
They always find them.
Yeah.
How did that whole Edu situation, like how was that at Arsenal at the time?
The thing is, obviously, when I was there, they didn't really hear too much about it.
Okay, fair enough.
The club is obviously shush, not they don't tell you nothing. So I probably was more interested as a fan than as a staff.
That's inside. So what's 1 second? One more question. So what's your dream club to scout for? Obviously, Arsenal must have been a dream.
The thing is, I'd love to obviously eventually, go circle back, but then, you gotta take risks, and I'm at a stage where I want to take risks.
Taking one step back, take 2 steps forward.
Yeah, for me, I would love to get to a stage where I can go to like maybe Brazil or bring players into the UK, vice versa. Even Africa, there's a lot of talented players there, and in Asia as well. And Asian football's picking up as well. So for me, I'm not selected. I'm not saying I want to go one continent and bring the players there.
Oh, you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So working for a club, for me, I think I want to work for a club that's actually quite big on youth development and pushing boys in. So probably, if you ask me, I would like to work on a club with a lower budget, so that way they can get players into first team more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because that way they're relying on the first team, the youth players to come in and bring them in. So
sick.
Yeah.
Alright, sick. You can jump into the fire.
Cool. Right. So we're gonna do a start, bench, sell Arsenal.
Yeah.
Players. Okay. So past and present. All right.
Cool.
So start 1, bench 1, sell 1. Petr Cech, David Raya, Jens Lehmann.
Lehmann, I'm starting. Who's are the two?
Petr Cech and David Raya.
David Raya's getting sold.
Bench and Cech. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Bench and Cech.
Yeah.
Over Raya's been brilliant.
You know
it's
what?
Short term, innit?
It's a short term, innit? I think Petr Cech is
in a couple of years, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Check out Arsenal though.
All right. Saliba, Sol Campbell, and Gabriel.
Oh, that's hard. Saliba who?
Sol Campbell and Gabriel.
For me, it's Saliba first, man.
Starting ahead of Sol Campbell, ahead of the Invincible, yeah.
Yeah, Saliba is a beast, man.
You reckon he's better than Gabriel?
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, he is not, because the thing is, we spoke about it. He can carry a team rather than he can carry the defense rather.
Yeah, to be fair, when Saliba was injured last season,
so Gabriel probably
felt it. This season, Gabriel's injured. You don't feel it as much.
Yeah.
But that season, Gabriel wasn't as good.
Yeah, that was only last season. But
that's what Kivio's done. That's what Kivio's done really well, because he's got Saliba to calm him down. Well, Gabriel's a bit more erratic, and we love that as a defender. So for me, it's Saliba.
Who you benching? Sol Campbell benching and selling
Gabriel.
Yeah. Wow. I know it's mad, but the thing is, it's not. You haven't made it easy.
All right. Ben White, Bakary Sagna, Hector Bellerin.
Hector Bellerin, bye-bye.
Oh, you're selling him.
Yeah.
Who are you starting? White or Sagna?
Sagna for me, man.
You're starting him. He was a good player,
him.
man.
I love him.
Quality player.
Do you see? Remember that one he did like off the goal line? He flicked it out, rainbow. Like he done a bicycle kick, kicked it out the goal.
I don't remember.
Oh, that was.
He doesn't remember. He's a
I
Man
don't
United
remember.
fan.
Couldn't care less. We were probably winning league titles at the time.
Sagna was
yeah.
cold.
All right. Tierney, Zinchenko, Gael Clichy.
Those three, I think they're probably the same level.
That's what.
I was just thinking.
Hey, listen,
I
thank you
think-
very much. I'm the one that does these, and I try and get them all at the
I
same
think they're
level.
on the same level. So
Who's that? Turney, Zinchenko, and who?
Gael Clichy.
for me, I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna say Zinni because obviously.
To start.
Yeah, the reason because no, I know
He doesn't even start for Arsenal now.
No, but I'll tell you when he was on his prime because he
What,
was
for
playing-
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months was it's a long time, you know. Your wife will tell you about that. No, because his intelligence, etc. Because obviously he's not left back; he's more of a centre midfielder,
Yeah.
etc.
He dropped in there.
So
No, I'd have Clichy all day.
no,
Clichy was quality.
I was saying Clichy
Clichy
as
was
well.
cold.
No,
What, Clichy to start?
Yeah,
And then Zinchenko bench.
yep,
And then Tierney sold, yeah?
yeah.
All right. Rosicki, Wilshere, Ramsey.
Oh, that's a hard one. Ramsey and who else?
Rosicki, Wilshere, and Aaron Ramsey.
I'm gonna go Wilshere first, innit?
Starting, of course you would, yeah. And then who you benching? Rosicki or Ramsey?
Rosicki, unfortunately.
And you're selling Ramsey, all right? Cool.
Ramsey just left us, man.
Vieira, Petty, Gilberto Silva. I know who you're going to start.
Vieira all day.
Yeah, and then who you benching? Petty or Gilberto Silva?
Do you know what? Petit, I'm gonna let go. Reason being is because he wasn't really at my time.
Okay,
And
fair
I
enough.
think Gilberto
Gilberto
Silva, I
was
met him.
quality. He was an invincible as well.
No, but I
wasn't
met
he?
him actually personally.
Oh, okay, fair
The Gunners
enough.
pub next to that. Yeah, near the
All right.
stadium, yeah.
Arshavin, Cazorla, Nasri.
Oh my gosh. Arshavin, Cazorla, and Nasri.
Start
That's
bench, so
another one. That's another hard one. I think Nasri first.
starting.
Yeah.
Cazorla bench.
Cazorla bench.
Yeah, Arshavin
And-
sell.
yeah.
I'd go with that as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Or maybe Cazorla start, then Nasri, but yeah. All right. Ozil, Odegaard, Fabregas.
Ozil first.
To start, you start Ozil.
No.
Ozil, Odegaard, Fabregas.
No. No. Fabregas first. Ozil second.
Odegaard selling.
Yeah.
So it can't be that good then. Odegaard. Right.
We've had some class players, you know what I mean? When you got class players like that.
Thank you.
Right.
Some people used to say, "Oh, the guy's way better than Ozil." Bugging out, man.
He
Bugging.
had the potential though.
Bugging.
But yeah, Ozil's yeah.
Another level.
Right. This is the last one I'm going to do.
Okay.
Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry.
Do you know what? I actually got a funny one. Actually, all the Invincible players, if you ask them who's better, Thierry Henry or Dennis Bergkamp,
They say Bergkamp.
it's only Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one says Henry. But as a fan, Henry,
So Henry,
Dennis
Bergkamp, and then Ian Wright.
As I said, Ian Wright's before my time again.
Ian Wright, you didn't come on the show, bro. You
He can't even defend you, man.
He can't even defend you now, bro.
You should have picked up Simon Cool, man.
But we still
We love you,
bro.
man, Uncle.
We love you, Uncle. Just about.
Shout out Wrighty.
Yeah, we got to finish up. Man. That was the On The Bench episode. Hope you lot enjoyed it. Brother, once again, thank you for coming.
Appreciate it, man.
I need to get you back on. I got so much questioning to get
we have
to,
to,
man.
man. We have to.
Had a good chat today. I really enjoyed it. That's episode 49, nearly at the big 50. You lot like, subscribe, comment, and all of that. Do you want to plug your socials as well if you want, bro?
Yeah, I'm Coach Mo on everything, so you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yeah, sick. You ain't got no social. Like, subscribe, comment, give Mo a follow. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love.
Bomboca!
Sick.